Hey there, friends and family. I'm hoping you had a wonderful weekend. It's Monday. I hope you're up ready to get it. Today, we're going to continue the psychology of money on the chapter that talks about the seduction of pessimism. Pessimism can tend to be more appealing than optimism. Outrageous optimism is very barely looked at, but outrageous pessimism that like screams prophets of doom is more likely to get people's attention. You could say something like, hey, this is a world-ending event. How many movies are just based on that? Apocalypse, just all doom. Rather than, hey, next year we're going to have more rainbows than ever before. People are not really going to care about that. If you were to just look at the news source, you would see where pessimistic tendencies lie. A lot of people will talk about, violence occurring, for instance. And it's valid for that to be shown so we could all have a sense of awareness in our lives. But every single day, like, do you know how life expectancy, how it's risen just compared in the last 1,000 years? We talk about a lot of mass shootings, terrorism, and things like that. But what's something good? Like, when's the last time I heard something about the accumulation of all the volunteer hours just in America, right? Like, we rarely hear things like that. And that's just to talk about what occurs in the markets. So here's an example. Let's say that in a week, the market goes down 10%. This is going to go across every single news outlet, just sparking this indication for fear. And it can be a valid indication. But they'll literally go on your TV screen and show you just a chart for the day, just a chart for that week, just a chart for that month. Really honing in closer, showing the down range of the market. And that's a very pessimistic thing to do. But if you were to just take a moment, step back, and decided, hey, instead of just looking at the week chart of a downtrend that the news outlets are showing me, if I simply just looked in the last 3 months, maybe the year, you would realize that it wasn't that crazy as it seems. It looks more of as a normal function in just life itself. We tend to look at companies not as people, but they're literally can be identified as a person, literally. And just like a person and just like life, we can go up and down. There's no person in life that says, oh, my life has just been a consistent uptrend. But if you were to, let's say, put your life in a chart, let's talk about your perception. You had one bad day, maybe a bad week, maybe a bad month. If you just focused on that small time frame, it can look like doom. But if you were to just take a step back as well and look at your overall life on a year perspective, in the last 5 years, was it really that bad? Is this really a signal of doom? It can be an indication for sure. It could help you be like, okay, let me review this and let me try something else. But it's about the perception. It's about what they're showing you. It's about the perspective. Okay, cool. We went over that. If you see the stock market drop 40% in 6 months, Yeah, that there's going to be a lot of fear going around for sure. But you know what's virtually gets unnoticed is that if the market raises by 140% in the last 6 years, the news outlets aren't going to be sitting around just talking about that, because negativity, pessimism is more intellectually captivating. But this is where you actually have to decide for yourself, is investing the right choice for you as a form of investment? Is the company is the right choice for you? And I'm going to give you an example, just talking about the 140% going up in the last 6 years. And this is hypothetical, right? Let's say you have $10,000. You put 10,000 in the market, and the 6 years it gave you 140%. Your money is doubled in 6 years. But now you're looking at a little above 20,000, which is cool. It's a beautiful thing, right? But I'm pretty sure if you just had a proper skill, you would be making more than 10,000 in 6 years. Stay with me now. You see, if you already had $1 million in the market, in 6 years, if you get another million, you're like, hey, I didn't do nothing and I got another million. Okay, cool. But if you have 10,000 and it goes to 20,000, does it really make a substantial difference in your life? It's a beautiful thing that is grown, but you have to really think about your timeline and what's the best, the most, what will give you the most return on your interest. Like, for example, instead of that 10,000 going to a random company that you don't know the people's names, you don't know the employees, you don't know nobody. Let's say you invested that in yourself. And then within that investment in yourself, you obtain the high level producing skill. Let's say you made, because you learned that skill, you got 50,000, 75,000, 100,000 yearly. And at those end of the 6 years, that $10,000 that could have been invested in the market is worth so little in comparison to if you would have just put that all in yourself. So that's what you gotta look at. Or do you have a skill that will allow you to advance yourself, advance your income to the point where it's valid for you to start investing in other things? Or are you still on your foundational period where you still need to build yourself up to a point before you could start receiving that high level of income? Now, there's a lot of value that is made specifically valuable based on monetary, but how many things are valuable that you can't put a price tag on? Yeah, you can invest in a company. Yeah, you can invest in a skill set that could give you money for sure. But if you didn't invest in yourself to find out your triggers, or why you felt this way in 2005, it's like, what's the point? Your life isn't going on an uptrend. You got to think. You got to really take a step back here and really ask yourself, what is the proper thing to invest in? Monetary or non-monetary? Where people fall behind is where people think that from 20 to 30s, they learned a skill or they learned something, and then they decide to stop learning because they are able to receive income. But the person that doesn't stop learning applicable skills past their 30s, 40s, 50s, not only are they keeping their brain lively, but you could see a directional trend based on things that they learned. You know, thank God for what we have. We gotta give ourselves grace for sure. But I hope you choose your investments wisely. Tomorrow we're gonna go deeper into this topic. Enjoy your week. Give yourself a reason to smile today.